This is the first time I'm on a podcast too. So, and honestly, as like a 36-year-old white guy, like this is the pinnacle of my life, being on a podcast, let me say
I
it,
mean,
right?
this is 36-year-old white guy in Brooklyn who's in crypto,
Oh boy.
who's
Yeah.
in the crypto.
How do I not have a Civil War podcast? Like
I
that's just,
actually don't understand how you don't.
yeah. Yeah. Or World War II.
Hello, and welcome to the Slightly Off Plan podcast. My name is Jillian. I'm your host today. I'm joined by my friend Danny, who is a fellow Queens kid. And in this episode, we talk about being from Queens, how we aren't in the field that we started in, and how certain priorities led us from a more conventional path. So tune in and enjoy. Hey, Danny.
Jill, my homegirl.
Thank you. Queens,
stand up.
Do you know how you know someone is from Queens?
How's that?
They will fucking tell you.
They need to make it known that we're not transplants here. Like
no.
Yeah.
Born and raised Queens, New Yorkers. I mean, I introduce myself. Like, I have noticed that within 2 minutes of meeting someone, I'm like, I'm from Queens. By the way,
yeah.
If you didn't know, I'm from Queens, New York. I'm cooler than you.
I lead with that. I actually lead with that too. It's actually the first thing I say when I meet. I'm like, I'm from Queens. That's it.
I'm from Queens, and I'm better than you.
It is the best borough. I know we're biased, but
it is the best borough.
Yeah.
Fight me, Brooklyn. Thank you for being on my podcast.
Of course.
I want to start off by saying, before we really get into it, this mic that you see that I'm speaking into was purchased as a gift from none other than Mr. Daniel Scalone. Oh. And I cried many a tears when I got this. I unboxed it, and I'm now remembering that. I'm going to write that down.
You did an unboxing video.
I did an
unboxing video on Instagram. Yeah.
I did. I'm actually, now that you're saying it, I'm going to add it to the promo. All good stuff, baby.
This is where we started. This is where we are now. No, I'm just happy to, don't forget about us little people, when you make it big and you're doing like 1 million subscribers,
Like, subscribe, hit that bell.
Yeah.
I would never. No, but like when I first ridiculously was like, I'm going to start a podcast. I mean, overall, most people were very supportive of it, which was a pleasant surprise, because I definitely was expecting a lot more people to be like, what the fuck, Jillian? And not only were you supportive of it, you sent me a mic. You were just like, here, this is your first mic. So thank you.
Least I can do. Oh, of course.
And that leads into our special relationship, which is you are one of my best friends. I've known you since I was 18.
Woo! Couldn't even drink yet.
We
had literal 3 years before we could drink. That's how.
Not that we did. Neither of us were very big drinkers. Like at that age, like neither of us were like normal 18-year-olds where we were like, let's try and get booze.
Yeah, no. I literally couldn't care less. And now I'm just like, when can I smoke my next split? I don't even smoke. I don't even know how to roll it. I don't even know what I'm doing. I like gummies. All right. That's what I like.
Oh, I'm you know what? I like gummies. But I've had very bad experiences with gummies. But that was like back in the day when they were like a little bit more unregulated, and you would have you would have a gummy and you would either like see God or nothing would happen.
Yeah, those black market gummies would cause issues for sure.
There's no.
You're like, why am I naked on the outside of the LIE? I don't understand why. For those that don't know, that's the Long Island Expressway. I'm from Queens.
There was no fucking in between.
No, exactly.
I'm definitely, I'm more of a bowl girl myself. Like, give me a little bowl, just put a little in it.
Yeah.
But weed is not legal here. People are so weird about weed in the UK.
I know. Well, you also voted what's his name as the third most handsome man in America, so you got ways to go before you legalize weed.
I didn't vote. There was no voting on my end.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Because I would have voted number one, Dev Patel, 100%. No
Dev
hesitation.
Patel, handsome
That's
guy. Yep.
that's my guy. Since Slumdog Millionaire, I have been. Have
Yeah.
I
You
seen
should see him.
any of his?
You should see him in Monkey Man.
I
His
want to see
newest one.
Monkey Man. I want to see
Yeah.
Monkey Man because even though I find him ridiculously hot, I actually haven't seen a lot of his movies.
Oh. Well,
Yes.
there's literally like a Rocky training sequence that he does at some temple in front of like these like trans people that live in this temple, and it's just like Dev Patel stands trans rights. Who would know?
That's what I'm.
What a guy.
What a guy. What a guy. Dev Patel, if you're listening, and if you're 36, you can be on the podcast. And I'm asking you out. So yeah, so let's give a little introduction on Danny. So my introduction, I've known you since we were 18. One of my favorite parts of our like long spanning friendship is that we've gone through so many ridiculous phases together.
Yeah.
Like, and I think one of the first ones was like we went through a gym bro phase. We were like, yeah, let's go lift and fucking whey, protein, BCAAs, pre-workout.
You were literally taking like a weight gainer shake for like no reason. You were just like, I need to get more yoked.
Dude, I was skinny as shit. I was like 120 pounds, 5'7", which sounds normal, but I felt like a twig. I was like, I can't be the skinny. I got to be able to like. I didn't want to like bulk up. I just wanted to be a bigger human. I wanted to be thick.
Yeah, 2 C's, and you were getting there. You were lifting pretty heavily. Yeah.
Dude, I was like deadlifting and shit. I was like squatting. And we would like one of the things we'd like hit each other up and be like, yo, you want to go to LA Fitness?
Oh my God. In my 2000 Maxima with no air conditioning, like everyone's got to have that first car, you know, it smelled like black ice, like the air freshener, you know, no air conditioning and just like Newfound Glory on like a 12 mix CD tape. And we would only listen to that. Like Spotify wasn't going to be around for another 10 years. Like that's what you did.
Oh my God. Right. And so like, I mean, our emo phases happened separately and then aligned because like, because we didn't know each other in high school when our emo phases started. But then when they did align, oh my gosh. I mean, it was like Newfound Glory concerts. It was the Used, Taking Back Sunday.
My favorite part about that is like people our age now, do you find this that like people are like kind of, not ashamed is the wrong word, but they're like kind of shy about saying that they still sometimes listen to that music? I'm like, just own it. Enema of the State's a fucking great album. Why do you need to be like, I listened to that in high school? It's like, no, you listened to that 2 weeks ago.
Dude, I saw Blink-182 twice this year. Like I love that music. I'm so proud of it.
Yeah.
It is a large
part
you
of
own
my it. You've always owned it.
I've always owned it. Yeah. This is actually the first podcast I'm recording where I'm not wearing an emo shirt. I think for the first one I wore a Blink-182 shirt. And for one of the promo videos, I wore a Newfound Glory shirt. But today I'm going Queen Bee.
Love it.
Queen Beyonce.
Yeah, you've always owned it. Like I feel like when I like Dashboard Confessional Hands Down come on, like I put the Spotify to private mode. Like I'm still not where you are yet, you know?
Oh, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
I love it. I would even go. I remember there was one time we went to a Newfound Glory concert. I think it was Newfound Glory. And I was like, I'm going to go crowd surfing. And you were like, okay, buddy.
No. That was Taking Back Sunday, Irving Plaza, the reunion show where I just didn't see you after that.
Okay, so more of an introduction on. So that was another phase I forgot about. We went through our emo phases together. So yeah, Danny, do you want to tell the world a little about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, like Jill said, from Queens. That's where we met. I think people should know the first time I met you. I feel like that's an important piece of the puzzle here, which is my friend owned like a 2007 Acura, which means nothing to the people listening. But it was like a car that comfortably fits 5 people, like maybe 4 people, 5 people max. There was already 6 people in this car, and my friend Mike was like, we're going to go pick up my friend Jill. I went to high school with her, and we were all like, okay. Jill like looks in the car, opens the back door, and just like looks at all of us, and then like stage dives into the back seat. We close the door, and then Mike zooms off. And that was the first time I met Jill, and I was like, "Who is this? Who is this person?" So
And
that was 2008.
I was like, I'm gonna be in your lives forever.
Oh no, that was like 2005. So
that
yeah,
was
that was like
2005. Because that was right after we graduated high school.
Yeah.
Because I went to high school. Yeah, I went to high school with Mike. You knew Mike from grade school. Yeah. And yeah, I was like, y'all think you're getting rid of me.
It was the winter break of 2005. We had just gone to college. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. What else can I say? I mean, well, I'm sure we'll dive into more things, but also from Queens, live now in Brooklyn, which breaks a lot of people's hearts that I grew up with. They still give me shit about it, but I'm kind of like, have you taken the 7 train from Flushing to Soho to go to work? Like you haven't. You haven't.
So this podcast is about 36-year-olds. Danny is 36. But this podcast is inspired by and mainly about people that don't have their lives together. So when I was initially putting the list of my friends at this age, because season 1 is very strict. Season 1 is very strictly 36-year-olds. When I was putting together this list, I put Danny in the no list. Because Danny has a beautiful relationship with lovely Hunter, who I hope at some point will just like kind of jump in. And at the time, actually, when I was first kind of doing this, I don't think you were yet married. That's not true. Anyway, you were married when I first started this. Yeah. Beautiful relationship for 4 years. Now married, beautiful wedding, and you have a very good job. You have you're financially very stable, doing very well. And I was like, Danny his life is too together. I will not accept it. But I made the exception.
Yeah.
One, because I needed
I've had some road bumps, like I feel like there's some things that like we're not on a normal person's path, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing, right? Is like it's all slightly off plan, right? And so I guess you kind of hit that on the head, is the slightly off plan. And I'm just going to harp on the fact that you don't yet own anything, even though you could. You don't. And you don't. And we're supposed to own something by now, and we're supposed to have kids.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because of those things, you're not quite a hot mess, but you are slightly off path, and so that fits the agenda.
But no, thank you. I was excited to come on, and this is the first time I'm on a podcast too. So, and honestly, as like a 36-year-old white guy, like this is the pinnacle of my life. Being on a podcast. Let me say.
I mean. Right? As a 36-year-old white guy in Brooklyn, I'm actually surprised this is your first podcast. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me get even more specific. As a 36-year-old white guy in Brooklyn who's in crypto,
boy. Yeah, how do I not have a Civil War podcast? Like that.
I actually don't understand how you don't.
Yeah. Or World War II, Like
so crypto guys get a bad rap. For sure.
Yeah, I try not to say like I'm a like I like.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say I'm a crypto guy.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say that you were a crypto guy. I would say that you are a well-informed human who has crypto. As am I. I am a well-informed human who has crypto. But it is not an astounding part of my personality, nor is it yours. However, you did go through like a very classic Danny phase where you're just like all about crypto.
I am obsessive about a lot of things. This was one thing that I was very obsessive about because I like learning about things,
Yeah, no, but I mean, you did so good. You taught me about things. Like I kind of knew everything at a higher level, and you kind of like, kind of brought more of it to my attention. I bought some extra coins from your advice.
Who would have known that at the end of it, you just needed to buy a dog whiff hat coin and we could have all retired? But that goes to show you no one knows anything.
Oh gosh. Imagine if we knew, imagine if we knew at age 20
Mm-hmm.
in the back of Irving Plaza, listening
Yeah.
to oh my god, name a Taking Back Sunday song.
Uh,
I know.
70 times. Oh no, damn,
No, that's brand new.
Cute without the E. Cut from
Q
the
without the
C.
E. I'm like, how have I forgotten every single Taking
Yeah.
Back Sunday song?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Yeah, years later that would be
I mean,
into crypto podcasts.
it's more, the funny thing is, it's like looking at the things you were doing in 2011 instead of buying Bitcoin and being like, like, what was I doing in 2011? You were like, I was going to the park to play basketball, and I could have just put $1,000 in the Bitcoin and been like, I don't need to work a day in my life, and neither do my children.
But you know what? It builds personality.
It does, yeah. But anyway, yes, that is something I've been interested in. Yeah.
We don't have to talk about crypto for this whole thing.
No, let's keep going. No, I'm kidding.
So kind of staying on the topic of slightly off plan, and kind of where we're at right now. If you were to think back to like age 20, I'm gonna go like 25, because I feel like that's 25. When me and you were in our phase of like, first of all, we were huge New York Rangers fans. Still are, but not in the same way. Like in around 25, 26 was when we were like spending all of our money going to Rangers games, like watching games in bars. Like, I was commissioner of a fantasy team, of a hockey fantasy team. Like you were considering getting a New York Rangers tattoo. Like we were in it.
I would have been deeply regretful if I got that tattoo, you know?
But thinking back to like that time, because that was peak Rangers time. That was also peak, like we were both like single, like dating around. Did you ever think this far ahead? Like, did you ever think about like your 30s, as far as career, as far as like relationship? Like, did you think you'd be married? Did you think, yeah. Let's start there.
So I would say like 26, 27 is when I like first moved out of Queens, which was a big deal for me because I so I moved in with my cousin, and it kind of felt like a new epoch of my life where like I was like meeting new people, I was getting into new things, I was being exposed to new things. And it was generally just a really interesting time in my life. Obviously, we also had like the Rangers fandom. We played Zog Sports. We saw a lot of each other at that time too.
Yeah.
Career-wise, like I had a couple of years prior to that, I had just started like a really new job, which is Vaudeville Ventures, which was where I like got my start in just like being in the real world, where like I was always grinding it out since I was 16, working at like Key Food or the bank, like typical Queen shit. Like maybe I'll just spend the rest of my life working at Capital One. Or I took the fire department test. Like I was this close to becoming a firefighter, which is like
remember
that is peak Queen shit. You know,
that is so Queens.
Yeah, so like I was starting to like take my career a little bit more seriously. It took like a good 5 years after that to realize that I like really enjoyed HR and working on people teams, which is what I do now. And it's crazy to think I have like 10 years of experience now. But yeah, I definitely was thinking about my career a little bit more, but I was not as career driven as my peers. That I think I was like around, like a lot of peers, they were just like, I gotta move up, I gotta do these things. And I was like, I feel like I'm on the right path. Like I knew I was with the right people. I had wonderful mentors at this job. I ended up meeting some of my best friends at this job, people that I still see to this day. So I knew I was like in the right place, but I didn't feel like the pressures of like being like moving forward that quickly. So I was definitely like thinking about my future and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess to answer your question, I didn't feel the pressures that I feel like other people might have been feeling, just because I was like, I feel good about my life right now. Like I feel like things are moving forward. I'm experiencing new things, and at the end of the day, that's all I wanted. Like that's
that's really cool, because I feel like it's safe to say me and you are both like a little bit on the late bloomer side of things. Like
definitely.
We weren't we weren't, I don't know. I feel like when we were in our 20s, there were so many people around us that felt like they had so much more
Mm-hmm.
Like they just knew what was going on a lot more than I did for sure.
Definitely.
Um,
Definitely.
and me and you both definitely took our time with things.
Mm-hmm.
You a little bit more steady. I was a little bit more erratic. But you were just kind of like, I got my job at Capital One. I'm good. I'm gonna be here for a little bit before I make the next move. And then you made the next move, and it was such a good move for you.
Oh
Because
yeah.
that was at the company that really I feel like really changed your life as far as like career and life. Like you said, you got a lot of your like your closest friends from there. Really
Shout out
found your
Diana
place.
Peralta for picking me out of Capital One and giving me that opportunity. Shout out
Was
Diana
that
Peralta.
was that a Diana Peralta move?
100%. She was working there, and she was just like, "Hey, do you really like that job? Like, they're looking for someone." And I met Michael Wolf's, like, and I met my
That's
boss.
right.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
I forgot that.
Diana. Yeah.
Shout out to Diana Peralta, filmmaker, director. Check her out. I'll put a plug in here for her. She is
Yeah.
fantastic. I forgot that. You're right. I forgot that that was a Diana
Yeah.
move.
100%.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, and what a clutch move that was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even at the time, like you were just kind of like, yeah, this feels like a good idea, but I don't think at the time you were like, oh, I'm now gonna go into HR. Like this is gonna be
No, it
like,
it took like 4.5 years until that happened.
yeah. And
Because I
what was
couldn't
the
I couldn't speak to like what HR even was at the time. I was like, I think I want to do operations, and people would be like, what does that mean? But it
yeah,
takes a while to like, because I was a little bit more laid back about it, and this is
yeah,
not a judgment on myself. Like it took me a while to be like, oh yeah, this is something that I'm like naturally feel like I'm good at, I excel at. I'm naturally a people person. I connect with people really well. So I was like, this could be interesting for me. And
yeah.
then yeah, yeah,
And I remember your growth through that job, like your 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 confidence level in like what you did and your love for like what you did really just changed in that time. I
yeah.
remember like because Capital One was just like clock in, clock out.
Oh
Um,
god, yeah,
bank teller, like all the bullshit that you went through as a bank teller.
yeah.
Yeah, and then you get to vaudeville and you're like HR is where it's at, but also just like the people aspect of it. I think that was like your favorite part, right?
It was. Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Because and so like just going way back, you went to college for journalism,
Yeah,
political
political
science.
science and journalism. I was obsessed with like working in a newsroom, but like behind the scenes in like a studio. And I
Yeah,
did this internship at CNN, which was yeah, like trekked from Flushing all the way to CNN like 4 times a week, and I loved it. I thought it was like the coolest thing, um, and I thought I was gonna do that, but it was like really hard to like through the front door.
yeah.
And that's when I took like the fire department test, and I was like, I'm just gonna go do this because I was like really into that at the time, and it just like kind of worked out the way it did.
I forgot about CNN.
Yeah, I was
I
really
for
upset. I really, really, really wanted to like work in a newsroom. Like I thought it was like the coolest thing. I like you start the day and like they don't even know what the show's about, and then by 7 p.m. it's a live show. Like it was the coolest. It still is one of the coolest things. Like,
Oh
um,
wow.
but but yeah, I totally didn't do anything with that degree necessarily.
Yeah.
So it goes to show you that you can pivot whenever you need to in life. Like you can kind of make those changes. But yeah, that didn't hold me back. I was just like, okay, new opportunity. This seems like the right place to learn. As soon as I met my two like bosses at that job at vaudeville, like I was like, these are people I can learn a lot from.
That's
And
awesome.
it's just like
Yeah, I think yeah, because like the career thing is such an interesting one, right? Because I am obviously not in the career that I started off with. Because I thought I was going to be a math teacher for the rest of
mm,
my life. Like I was like if you asked me this 10 years ago, I was like I will be a math teacher for the rest of my life. I'm looking for my forever school and that's it. And
yeah,
since then I've now pivoted twice. and,
yeah.
um and is vaudeville where you met Hunter?
No, that was my next job. That was Intersection.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
when
so
I
what
like
happened?
officially got into HR. What?
Oh yeah. So what happened after vaudeville? So you went from vaudeville to
Yeah, I started to really realize I wanted to get in HR, and I like another thing I think I've been good at in my career is just like making connections and like capitalizing on them when the time is right. And I had a
yeah.
connection through who was like the head of people at this job at this company Intersection, which was this much larger company. I went from like working in a small vaudeville office, which was very intimate, to like 600 people. Yeah, Hunter at the time was working as the receptionist there. So she was like the first person I saw when I walked in. Um, and I started on the day of the holiday party, which was kind of wild. And that's when like Hunter and I first talked. And in classic Danny sense, it took me like 10 months to ask her out, which is like that is par for the course.
So Danny.
Yeah. Hunter was like, "Oh, we can't start dating now," and I was like, "No, I need to wait 10 months." And I know. And but yeah. So that's how I got into Intersection, and like I kind of hit the ground running from there. Like great company, learned a lot, took it to another company, and I kind of just kept doing my own thing until now I'm at my current stage, which I'm like now helping build a company from the ground up, which has always been a dream of mine to like have early stage like equity and help build something. I'm also like working for a very close friend, which is very cool. So I've been able to like snowball things into new opportunities, which has been cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That's really dope. And I think snowball into new opportunities has definitely been the way that
Always, yeah.
You've traveled up as far as like your career goes. But now I want to talk about Hunter. Because you totally Jim and Pam'd your relationship with Hunter. Like
yes.
Cute girl at the front desk.
I know. I lingered around that front desk for a long time. So much so that my old coworkers were like, "Did you leave the building for 30 minutes?" And I was like, "I was just at the front desk." Like she had the coolest team. She also had like two coworkers that worked on her team that were like always at the front desk, and like they were really fun. Like we all just like hit it off, and yeah, so I would spend a lot of time with like talking to Hunter and
you did the classic Danny, which was play the long game.
I know. I try not to hold myself, like I beat myself up about it, but thankfully she was patient and she let me like see things through on my own terms, and it obviously worked out really well for us. But
well, yeah, I mean you are a married couple, so it worked out.
It
worked out really well.
Put a ring on it.
Put a ring on it. Oh my gosh, that is just like another like beautiful example of like Danny just does things on his own and on his own way in his own path. Doesn't matter what's happening around him, especially with your childhood friends, who I'm friends with too. I don't know why I said it like that, like your childhood friends, as if I'm not friends with them also. But you know, being from Queens, being a Queens kid, we are generally expected, you know, whether or not you're kids of an immigrant or just kids of other Queens kids. Shout out to JP.
He was born in Flushing too. Yeah.
Oh man. That's actually so cute. Yeah, we're expected to kind of like fall in line, you know, you go to school, you either go to college, or if you don't go to college, you go to trade school, you get a good job, you find someone to marry, you settle down, you have kids. No, sorry. You settle down, you buy the house, then you have kids. And I feel like a lot of our Queens peers followed that path. Yeah. But not us.
No, I mean, I feel like, yeah, definitely all those guys, I've always...
Sorry. And nothing, not to say that there's anything wrong with that.
Oh, there's definitely not, which was what I was going to say. Like, it has always been, I've always looked up to them. I mean, first of all, I want to say, like, I think I'm very fortunate. I don't think many people have close friends that they've been friends with for like 25 years. Like, that's just not a thing. At least, like, I haven't, like, most people meet people in like high school or college or like after college, and like, these are my best friends. And, you know, these guys, have all stayed true to themselves and like are all wonderful people. Like I know they're all chronically online and will watch this. And like I'm giving you guys your flowers. Like you guys are the best, and they all did that kind of path. Like they all happened. I think one of the most important things is like they just found the person that they want to spend the rest of their lives with, like earlier than I did. And so like they were a little bit more, but they were all like doing that sort of order where they like met someone and they're like, you know, got a place on Long Island. It's like, oh, now you got to move to Massapequa, and like now you have a 4-door, you know, Toyota Highlander, and like now you have a kid. And They all did that. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing that I've always looked up to them in that sense. Like they've always grounded me in that sense. But yeah, looking at them, I was like, that's really cool. It just like, I don't feel like I'm at that place yet. And it was never I was never in the like a place where I was just like, I can't, I need to be single. Like I was just more along the lines of like, I just feel like I haven't met my person yet. And I feel like I have all these other good things to be excited about. So I kind of took my chance in being like, this is going to happen for me a little bit later. And that's cool. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you ever feel pressured from yourself or from them to like kind of figure out everything out quicker?
I feel like they definitely. Maybe I was projecting a little bit. Maybe this is in my own mind, but I feel like they definitely looked at me in a different sense. Like, oh, he's now moved and he's like doing all these other things, and like I was traveling. Like traveling was just something that I always found super important in
Yeah.
my life. I didn't get to travel until I was 2016 was when I got my passport to come to London. And so like
Yeah.
once I came to London, I was like, okay, I want to see the world. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I just found reasons to like travel. Like it was just like that was what was most important to me. And obviously I'm with someone now who also loves to travel and we continue to do so. But like that was a number one priority where like my other friends were building a life and that was what was important to them. And it just felt a little bit just felt like different priorities, which is cool because you got to do things that are unique to yourself and what's important to yourself. Otherwise, you look back on your
Yeah.
life and you're kind of like, oh man, I missed out on that trip to Vietnam or Peru or Mexico City. Like,
Mexico
you know,
City.
yeah, Mexico City, exactly. But yeah,
That was our
that's
that
not
was
my
our best
priority
friend
anymore.
trip to
It
Mexico City.
was,
Yeah,
it
that
was,
was
yeah,
that was so fun.
it was fun.
Um I actually, yeah, I mean that's really cool because like that I mean that's the thing, and that is part of. I'm glad you're bringing up traveling because that is 100% part of the reason why um I'm in the position that I'm in, of being unwed, single, blah, 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 all the stuff, um is because when I was in my 20s, I prioritized traveling, and I was definitely lucky enough to grow up in a family that traveled often.
Yeah,
My dad's from London, so we came to London a lot. My mom's from the
yeah,
Philippines, so we went to the Philippines, but they also like to travel, had the means to travel. So definitely lucky in that sense. And but yeah, when I was in my 20s, right around the time, yeah, people were finding their partner and getting comfortable in their job. I was like, I want to travel, and I remember, I think I was 25 when I did my first like solo travel across Europe.
mm-hmm.
I say across Europe, I went to 4 places, but or 4 countries, but um yeah, I do think that is a big, like, kind of like, travel is a big thing in that kind of slightly off path ecosphere, I suppose. Like there is a
Yeah,
point where especially American kids, not for nothing, like especially American kids either go, I'm going to travel, I'm going to use my money and my time and travel,
mm-hmm.
um or I'm going to settle down and take that route. And yeah, so that's definitely
If you,
relatable.
Yeah, it feels like there's for a lot of people there is that trade off, or they just like really start traveling when they find their partner that they want to be with, or like they just have a long term partner and that's when they really start traveling. But I don't know. I don't think there's a right way to a wrong way to do it. It's just that was what we really like doing, and I still like doing. I still love traveling, and you know, so yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was definitely an important piece. I never felt I wouldn't say I felt pressure, and I think I was fortunate to not feel parental pressure, which I know a lot of people do, of being like when you get married, like my dad, like you knew my dad. My dad like said seven
JP?
thing. Yeah, yeah. My dad was just like he would never check in. My mom was patient with. So like I didn't have that sort of pressure, so I think that helped me a lot of just being like,
Yeah. No, and I
yeah,
think I think that's such a big thing too, is like I mean, yeah, a big part of kind of where I'm at is because I didn't have that parental pressure. It was just kind of like, yeah, all right, is that what you're gonna do? I mean, I had a little bit of pressure, obviously. Like you can't be from a Filipino family and not have a
no,
little bit of pressure.
yeah,
Um, But yeah, for the most part, it was just like Jillian's gonna do what she's gonna do. And I think that was the same for you. Like your parents were just like, yeah, cool. Like, can you afford it? That's on you.
I didn't even get that. They just assumed they were like, he's got a good head on his shoulders. So
Yeah. Were you the last one of your friend group, of like that childhood friend group, to get married?
Yeah, out of like my core friends, there's still one that is in a long-term relationship, but I would say out of like my core people who are like in my like were groomsmen of mine, like that I definitely was the last one to get married for sure.
Yeah. And like, I mean, none of them are allowed on my podcast. Guys, I love you all, but your lives are too together. You're all married. They all have kids. No, they don't all have kids, but they're all married. They all have property, don't they?
Not yeah, actually they do.
Freaking do. They all have property, stable jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Some have kids, some don't.
It's what happens when you're like, you do like the blue collar route. You're like teacher, cop, firefighter.
Yeah. But the
carpenter.
The funny thing about like your friend group, who I'm also friends with, but I met when we were teenagers, as opposed to like you knew them from I don't know, 10 or whatever, like middle school, is that when everyone did start having kids, it was like, dude, I remember you like, I don't know, like running down the street with your skateboard, like playing Super Smash Brothers until 2 a.m.
I know.
And now you're in charge of a human.
I know, and they're all such wonderful dads too. It's
like, I know,
seeing them all crazy. With their kids, like it doesn't even surprise me, but it's just like it's so. Again, these are people who like I have always looked up to. Like they're just such grounded human beings. Like that's it's someone. It feels good that I can always like I have those people to go to. You know. So.
Yo, Danny, just talk shit about them. No, they're not gonna listen. They're not going to listen. You're not going to listen. You know who I'm talking to.
No. There's nothing to talk shit. I mean, I have a better jump shot than Gus, but that's about it.
All right. Okay, we're going to do quick fire. Of the group. Who's the best at Smash Brothers?
Oh, that's Gus.
Okay.
Gus has like a savant kind of like way with these things where it's like your cousin Dean. Like he focuses on one thing and he gets so good at it, and you're like, how did you get so good at that?
Dean is so good at everything. Yeah, he is actually Dean and Gus are the same person.
They are very similar. Yeah.
Gus can do everything and anything.
You should see his paint. You don't even like. You got to go on his Twitch stream, and do you know he paints? He paints incredible portraits. No. I know you're thinking like, oh, here's like a dinky sailboat.
No, I made that face because like I didn't know that he paints, but now that you've said it, I know that he paints.
Oh, it's like Bob Ross type shit. He on like big canvases. Like he just goes on a Twitch stream and he's like painting, and then he's like also like dual screening the Rangers game. Like it's like
that is such a Gus move. Shout out to Gus. Shout out to the boys. So let's go to the last segment of the podcast, which is if you could give advice to an older version of yourself. And I want to pick, because I've known you since you were 18, I want to pick the age. I want to pick 23. If you had to go, so let's go back to Danny at 23. What was happening at Danny with 23?
Danny at 23.
I think
so I moved when I was like 27. So like this was what? This was like 2010.
Yeah,
something like that. Am I doing the math? I'm terrible at math. Oh my god.
Yeah, so am I. We were
13 in 2000.
We were still in our lifting phase.
Yeah, 2013. I was 23.
23. You were getting you were brolic. Can we talk about that for a second? Like
I was in deep shape.
Dude, you were jacked. I remember because not for nothing. You were a skinny little dude growing up. And then and then we decided
not for nothing. Not for nothing.
Not for nothing. Not for nothing. You were a skinny little shit. And then I think it was specifically me, you, and Eric that got into lifting at that time, right?
Yeah.
And then you just fucking, I just remember there's a bunch of pictures from a pool party and you're fucking jacked.
I wouldn't say, I was just, I was definitely, I did like Dragon Boat. Like, I think that like 2012 was probably the strongest I've ever been. Like, it wasn't like I was like big. I was just like very in shape.
I forgot about your Dragon Boat phase.
Again, like that's a benefit of like being open-minded and like trying new things that like, yeah, we won a gold medal in Montreal. Like that was just some random thing that I did in my life. But yeah.
I'm sorry, it's just because like I have so many phases. A lot of them cross with your phases, but it's just so funny that we've been through so many similar phases. Okay, so we're going to Dragon Boat Danny. So this is like 23.
Well, let's just pick like 2012. Yeah, I think that's a good time in my life.
Yeah, if you were to give advice to that Danny, what would you say?
Honestly, I would say two things. I would say one, you're doing the right thing. Like trust your gut. Like if something makes you happy and like something's like bringing like a new experience to your life and something is like adding positivity and just like you're learning something new, like keep doing those things. And I knew that then and I knew that now, and I would say like keep doing those. Like you're on the right track. Like don't project other people's successes or other things. And also we didn't have social media really back then, so I think that's also a problem now where like people are looking at other people online and it's like affecting where they should be.
Yeah.
We didn't have that,
That was we had Facebook, but Instagram hadn't really quite blown up yet at that time.
No, Instagram was when like just civilization went downhill. But yeah, I would say like continue doing that. And the other big thing is I think like I was definitely more shy in the sense that like I allowed other people's opinions affect myself. And like that's just like being young. Like you eventually like hit your 30s. Like for me in my 30s, like I cared a lot less about that. I care a lot less about that these days. Like a lot less. And I think it's like partially part of growing. That's like part of growing up. But I would say like if you could give advice to a younger self, it's just like don't really listen to what other people's opinions are of you. Like if you're happy and you're surrounded by good people and you're moving forward, like as my grandma Beverly would say, fuck him, you're dead a long time.
Grandma Bev! Yeah. I love that. I'm going to ask you one more question, actually.
Yeah, sure.
What is your favorite thing about being in your mid-30s?
Mid-30s?
Yeah. It's a little different from our early 30s. I feel like
mid to late 30s?
Yeah, mid to late, because we're mid to late 30s now. We're leveling up.
Yeah. I think it feels, obviously I've been through some trials and tribulations in my life and things that like some pretty tough hardships. But it feels just good to like be in this place in my life where like I feel secure in a lot of ways. I'm in like a wonderful relationship. I feel like we're like ready to like take that next step soon. And it just feels good to like looking back on a younger Danny who is like way more
What
insecure.
Next step? What next step?
Oh, TBD. At some point. Yeah. Actually, for that thing, I'm honestly not going to take. I'm not being classic Danny and taking my time. It's when the time is right for the both of us. Like, we obviously, like it feels good to like be in a place where you're like, oh yeah, I feel like stable enough. We feel like confident enough in our like relationship, or like let's take it to like the next level. I feel like it just feels good. Like look back on even 10 years ago, I was like way more insecure, had a lot more anxiety, and it feels better to be in a place of like have more confidence. And I feel like being in your 30s, I think a lot of people understand who they are by this point. Obviously, everyone's totally different, but like you kind of know like what interests you, like the people you want in your life. That's a big thing. Like going through like 2020 and like taking care of my father, like that shed a lot of light on like who are the people you really want in your life? Like who are the people that really care for you and you care for them, and like that circle gets a lot smaller in your 30s. And that's like an important thing where like in your 20s, like you have interest and you're like you're out there more and you're like meeting a lot of people, and at least I was. But in your 30s, you just kind of like you're a little bit more confident in that, and you like know who you want in your life. So that's a cool thing.
That's awesome. Is there anything that you're looking forward to? Any big milestones that you're looking forward to in your 40s?
40s? Like, yeah, I really want to be a father. I feel like that's like, I've always, like, I know I'm going to be a great father. Like it's just something like like people have said that about, and
Yeah.
like I'm excited for that part of my life. Like Hunter's family is like all girls pretty much, so I'm like fully ready to be a girl dad. Like I have like, you know, like I'm carrying like the backpack. I got the little scooter. You know, no matter what kind of kid they want to be. Like maybe they're a sports kid, maybe they're a theater kid. Like the world is their oyster. You know what I mean? I like how those are the two things that they could be. But you know what I mean.
I mean, if it's going to be a product of you and Hunter, it is going to be either a sports kid or a theater kid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But no, like I feel like that's something that I'm like really and we both are. Like Hunter is as well.
Yeah.
So I think like that's something I'm looking forward to in my 40s. I feel like I'll be there by then for sure. So
yeah,
I'm turning 37 this year. So
yeah, we all are. That's awesome. Yeah, and of course, like there's no doubt in my mind that you will be the best father ever.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm excited.
And
we also live in the neighborhood of like this is where like young professionals come to like have a family and get a labradoodle, and I'm not getting a fucking labradoodle. But there's, you know,
what's wrong with a labradoodle?
No, too many people have, you know, it's like too many people have them. It's just like the Starbucks of dogs. Like I don't like we're just
It's a good dog.
No. What I want is just like a little scrappy mutt that's like been through something. You know what I mean? Like I want to like adopt a dog from like the Philippines who's just like, I grew up on a fucking beach. Okay? I ate garbage until I was 6. So put some respect on my name. I want like a little like 50-pound like little runt dog, you know? That's what I want.
That's amazing.
Like I want the Slumdog Millionaire of mutts.
Of the dog. Yeah, you want the dog. The dog comes up, rolls up with a cigarette, goes, "Sit down, kid."
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, you're younger than me. How are you have so much life experience? And that's what I want. Labradoodles, they just enter this world and they're just like, oh, I have a comfortable place to live. You know, I don't want that.
Yeah. You want a dog with a story and some scars to talk about.
I want a dog that has like a Netflix documentary about them. You know what I mean? That's what I want.
You ask the dog, like, tell me about the first few years of your life, and the dog goes, if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why the dog is from Queens.
Why is the dog my dad?
Why is the dog JP?
Remember the first time my dad met you? My dad was just like, how you doing, sweetheart?
I don't let men call me sweetheart except for JP. Except for JP, the legend. Love him.
Because it came from a place of endearment. He was just like, how you doing, sweetheart?
How you doing, sweetheart? When he first met Zach, what the hell is that? Zach was my Shih Tzu poodle, so
right.
Who also came into this life like, oh, everything's just taken care of.
Yeah, he had no concerns whatsoever, but he shit on my shirt once, you know, like.
No, that was Gus.
Gus, yeah.
That was Gus's shirt. Yeah, Zach, fluffy white dog, walks into your house, and your dad just looks over and goes, what the hell is that? Thank you so much for helping with everything from the mic to being on the show, and just your friendship. I really value our friendship, and I'm so thankful for you. And I cannot wait for you to be the dad that you want to be. Because, you know, Auntie Jill's going to fly in and be like, hey, kids, want to go get a tattoo? And you're going to be like, no.
They're going to have their hands full with all my friends. It's like they're going to go to Brian's house. They're going to be 2 years old, and Brian's going to be like, you're going to do some yard work now. Like, that's what you're going to be doing. Jill's going to be like, do you want to go get some, like, Filipino food in one side and then get, like, a tattoo by an underground artist? Like, that does, like,
Gus is going to put your kids on a skateboard and teach it how to... how to play Super Smash Brothers.
RJ's going to be like, you want to go for a ride around Brownsville? And I'm like, It's gonna be like what a world.
Mike's gonna be like, "Hey kids, I'm gonna teach you how to play guitar." Eric's gonna be like, "I'm gonna teach you how to play keytar." And that's it. We got
Keytar.
everyone.
We got everyone.
Keytar. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Danny for being a guest on my podcast. Thank you, Khem, for editing the sound. Thank you, Sinke, for making the music. And thank you, everyone who listened, liked, shared, subscribed, all the stuff. Thank you so much for your continued support. Love you, mean it.